Just bring it me, and the council will end you, both of you. I'm protected.
Not in here. You are War, rider of the Red Horse. Not some puppet on this pathetic creature's strings.
War, I will make you suffer.
Focus your anger. A great rage stirs within you, clawing to get out. You must release it, or a puppet you will remain.
Hey guys, you got Crave here with a review of Darksiders 1. Now, getting this game was due to a number of reasons, but it's mainly getting ready for this year's release of Darksiders 3, or which is the story of Fury. And so I ended up buying this Warmastered version for the first game and finishing it. Right now I can say that it wasn't only worth it to understand the story better, but the overall experience was quite good. Now, Darksiders as a series is Vigil Games' take on the war between heaven and hell. Similar to the Diablo franchise, it features the Nephilim, which are the spawn of angels and demons. It's from these Nephilim where we have the four horsemen of the apocalypse, which are embodied by war, death, fury, and strife. These four are the enforcers of the balance of a council that ensures no side ever becomes too powerful. The first game in the series features War, who is set up to make it look like as if he started the end war, or the final battle between heaven, hell, and the kingdom of man. Men, being young and an unprepared race, are easily decimated. He embarks on this journey to clear his name and bring forward to the council, or the Charred Council, those who are responsible for starting the end war. This is how the Horseman's story starts out, and it's through this we are introduced to the world of Darksiders. Let's look at the first game of the series, starting with its graphics and audio. Now, as mentioned, I got the Warmastered version of the first game, which includes its vanilla version. It's a slight improvement over the initial release, as I was able to compare them both. One thing though is that it has support for Ultrawide, or the 21:9 format, which makes games of this sort more immersive. There are additional graphic options on PC, but not by much. The game still looks good to this date though. The features on War's characters and NPCs you meet still pretty much hold up to 2018. The spell effects and ability effects are still impressive if you temper your expectations, given that it is an old game. Environments are where the game's age start to show. Sure, you're thrown into a war-ravaged Earth, but we've seen post-apocalyptic games where the textures actually look better. It's not terrible, but it is something you will notice as you progress in the game. The soundtrack and voiceovers are very well done in Darksiders. If War sounds familiar, you may have heard of the work in other games. That's Liam O'Brien behind his character. His take on War sounds very similar to Illidan Stormrage from World of Warcraft, which is perfect given that the two game characters have somewhat similar personalities. Other NPC voiceovers are also well done. You can see that a lot of effort was put into this aspect of the game. The rest of the sounds used is also very apt for each ability and each scenario in the game. In terms of gameplay, Darksiders 1 is a fun romp. The combat pacing of War is fast, but not nearly as fast as, say, Dante in Devil May Cry. As with most games in the genre, you are oftentimes swarmed with enemies with many different abilities, or you are often faced with boss fights whose mechanics are initially puzzles themselves. The finishers, typical of games of this sort, are stylish, but not nearly as awesome to look at as Death in Darksiders 2. As War, you carry with you Chaos Eater, which is a large two-handed sword, and as you progress in the game, you eventually get to equip other weapon types like a gun and tools like a small glaive which you can throw, or a chain hook that you can use to get through certain obstacles. The Merchant Fulgrim, an intriguing character, offers you ability upgrades and allows you to purchase a certain weapon that is also used by one of your siblings. While on Fulgrim, the game uses special currency called souls, which contribute to War in different ways depending on their color. Green signifies health gains, yellow fuels most of your special abilities, and the blue ones serve as money for you to pay Fulgrim. The blue souls, well, are limited in counts, so it often means determining which items or abilities are a priority for you. If you're a completionist, this won't really be a problem. The game also offers a host of platforming and puzzle-solving activities. This can mean finding keys to lock doors or figuring out how to cross seemingly impassable chasms. While they can be a bit frustrating if you're having trouble, Darksiders doesn't really implement these obstacles in an annoying fashion. It does prevent progression if you can't figure things out, but it's rewarding when you're able to solve them. You are never in a situation where you don't have the appropriate tools or abilities to easily progress puzzles in the game. Plot-wise, it isn't unfamiliar territory, but it's not lackluster either. Oftentimes, it's the way the story is packaged that can raise a telling above the usual. As mentioned, you were framed by some unknown force. Not only do you need to know who did what, but you also need to understand why the end war was triggered. As you go through the main plot, you discover Vigil's interesting take on the war between heaven and hell. You discover which characters plot as per their nature, and even those characters who initially are portrayed as good turn out to be not so good after all. More interesting are the seemingly neutral characters, or those evil ones that partially defected that you know will basically take advantage of you if you give them the chance. While you'd like to be rid of them, you can't help but wish you'd learn more about them. Darksiders isn't a true RPG, so the story is more linear, but Vigil Games has made these characters so interesting. Thankfully, you have Darksiders 2 to look forward to, and hopefully this year's Part 3 won't be a disappointment. Also, the story takes you to different war-ravaged places, but it's pretty much what you get. There are other places to visit, but you don't really spend a lot of time in them. The structures are different, but the overall feel is the same. So imagine a game like Fallout 4 and all you get to see is the wasteland. The lack of variation is noticeable, but it's not too bad. In summary though, Darksiders 1 is a worthy addition to any action-adventure, action hack-and-slash, or platforming library of a true fan. The overall experience is really something that keeps you wanting more of it. If it's your first time to take on the franchise, you've got Part 2 waiting for you, and this year we expect that Part 3 comes out too. Well, that's my take on War Story. As always, you got Crave here, and thanks for watching.